Geraldine about getting the private industry or the private side of the European digital innovation hub community active in what we do. So Geraldine, please.
Thank you very much, Moritz. So indeed, I'm Geraldine Andrieux. Just a bit of background, I'm the founder and CEO of BLUMORPHO. We are quite active indeed in interacting with the industry and private investors. We are partner of the DIHNET consortium, and we are also active in different innovation actions, also through Smart Digitizing European Initiative, where we are especially working with the SMEs to help them in their go-to-market and access to private investment. So that's why I'm very honored to moderate this session dedicated to explore the challenge of access to private investment. And to cover this session, what we want to address is the access to private investment for the SMEs, the role of the European DIH to orientate and educate the SMEs, and also how to foster a dynamic financing ecosystem. To have this session, what we wanted to do is also to get you inspired to have to benefit from lessons learned from players in this field. And I'm very happy to welcome today with us Bianca and MUNTEAN. Hello, Bianca, you're with us? I don't
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me.
So Bianca, you're founder and manager of the Transylvania Digital Innovation Hub. You are very efficient because you're a finalist of the DIH Champion Challenge in 2019. You have also a very strong expertise at the cluster level because you were Manager of the Year of the 2019 EU Cluster Contest, and you're also a member of the European Cluster Expert Group at the DG Group of the European Commission. So thank you so much for being with us and to sharing your own experience, your own analysis with us today.
Thank you for the invitation, Geraldine.
I'd like also to welcome Franck MURRAY. Franck has actually already a lot of lives, several lives. He is an entrepreneur as a founder of IPEDIA. He now part of MURATA Group as a CEO of MURATA France. And he is also president of Normandie Participations, which is a very specific investment fund, very original and innovative actually. It's a co-investment fund with 100 million euros under management, but only public money, regional money. And you will see very interesting in the way this fund is managed and operate. And we identify this activity as very inspiring. We could learn a lot from the DIH activity as well. So hello, Franck.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us. And we will be very interesting to know more about your activity. And last but not least, Yves PAINDAVEINE is with us as well. You all know Yves, Head of Sector at the European Commission at DG Connect, quite active in the Digitizing European Industry and also quite active in these European DIH innovation strategies. So thank you, Yves, for being with us and to participate to this panel discussion.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
And we know you are all here as well. So, we wanted to have a kind of interactive session with all of you. And before starting, I'd just like to address that what we want to cover today, it's this fourth pillar, support to find investment. We have already discussed in the previous session about the collaboration between the European DIH through the network. But for now, we want to address the support to find investment. And what we'd like to do also is to get your point of view as a DIH and a candidate for European DIH. How would you assess this level of challenge, to get to support to find investment, the company part of your network? So if you go to the chat, you have a link sent by Olivia right now. You just need to click on it. And by clicking, you should arrive on this page where you can answer this question. How do you assess the challenge of this fourth pillar, support to find investment, for the DIH activities? Is it easy to achieve? Is it challenging? Is it very challenging? Or maybe you have no idea about it. So please fill in these questions. We will use it because it will be very interesting also for the discussion. So in the meantime, I'd like to ask you, Yves, why this fourth pillar is so important for the European Commission and what do you expect from the European DIH?
Yes, Geraldine. Once the SME really knows what are the digital opportunities, the next question that comes is typically one which says, okay, how am I going now to finance my digitalization of my processes or the digitalization of my products? And or how should I go to market with this new product with digital insight? Traditionally, SMEs have the tendency to go either they finance it on their cash flow, or they go to their banker and even the local bank and they ask for a loan. And there is a role for equity finance. And that's also the other priority that we would like to have now. The SMEs going forward is thinking that there are more type of financing than just simply cash flow or bank loans. But obviously, they would have to know which is the language that they need to speak. You know, talking to an investor is different than talking to your banker. And therefore, they also need to be prepared correctly in order to pitch the kind of business plan that they want to present. And if we look now at the EDIs, at the European Digital Innovation Hub, so I really see three roles for them. But first, let me clarify. We don't see the Digital Innovation Hub as a fund manager. That's not their role. It's a job in itself. Franck will probably say a bit more about that. So we should not really confuse the SMEs with or the hubs with the fact that they have to become a fund manager themselves. So the three roles for the EDIs, one is really being able to point the SMEs to the finance landscape that exists. It means that an EDI has to know which are the regional financing possibilities, which are the national financing possibilities. And here, therefore, you see that's already more in the consulting role that we know very well for the EDIs. Now, it would pretty much depend. So it will also be the role of the EDI to know which kind of clients they serve. Typically, we see two types of clients. There is the traditional SME, non-digitalized. So that's how they have to know which kind of financial products would apply to their business. And we see also the very innovative SMEs, which is the other clients of the EDI. So you see that's a bit also the role of the EDI to be able to calibrate the kind of access to finance. The EDI, they could also help the fund manager to identify the promising projects in the sense that very often the limit to equity finance is not linked to the availability of funds. We have funds in Europe, but it's rather limited to the number of good projects to be financed. I see other roles such as a technology rating agency that is helping then the fund to assess the technology and to be able to de-risk the technology that would be deployed, so that also the fund manager could properly price the technology risk in their investment. And then obviously our role is also making sure that the learning experience of the DIH are broadly shared across the network. So that's the network aspect also that we very much would value.
Very, very interesting indeed. You have raised a lot of very interesting points indeed. And it's true that this question of access to private investments has raised a lot of questions for several months and years now, and how to link it with the DIH activities. Maybe what we could do, Yves, is to have a look to the feedback we have received from the audience on the level of challenge they perceive this fourth pillar. Maybe Olivia, you can share with us the results. Yeah, we'll see it's coming. Yes, so actually, yes, it's easy for 9% of our participants, but mainly challenging or very challenging. So this is indeed a very important point that we need to address, and it's good that we have selected this topic cover it further. So actually, you know, what I wanted to share with you as well, I don't know if you will see my screen now, because I know we had a small problem with our presentation. Is it better now, Marta?
Well, it's better. At least the gray spots are somewhere else, so it's fine.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
It's good. Okay. So what we have learned, the challenge, as you highlighted, Yves, is that there is money in Europe, but the challenge is to find the right companies to invest in. And one of the challenges we have seen is that a lot of companies are in the digitization process, are technology push, when investors are more market driven. So, and also the other point is that there is a lot of investment in software, maybe less in hardware. So we definitely have a key role to play as Digital Innovation Hub to support the access to private investment also in the hardware technologies. You raised, and this is something that we will cover, we are addressing a lot of different companies through DIH. We have the very innovative companies, the startups, and we have low-tech company. So we need to find a way to help them maybe collaborating, but also how to working together, they can have better access also to private investment. If you are low-tech and you are on the market for several years, you have a different level of maturity compared to a startup that doesn't have access to the market, that need to get customers. So it means the expectation from the company will be different, but also the type of investors you will have to go to will be totally different. And a point also to raise the discussion today is that investors are looking to invest in companies with also the ability to become European champions, meaning to scale and to grow largely, because they want to have a very attractive return of investment, because they have LPs that have invested in their funds. So they need to show they have good track record, they have good return of investment to attract new investors. So that's why the maturity and the quality of the company they're investing is very important. On the other side, banks are looking for companies that are recurring revenues. So if you don't have customer yet, you can't go to the bank. That's why this kind of language, as you said, Yves, is very important to know by the SMEs, and we need to educate them, but especially we need to get them ready to fit with the expectation of the investors. Maybe there is alternative way, and this is also what we wanted to discuss today. But to cover that, just another very important point, what we are mentioning here is very critical. Why? Because the positioning of the DIH and European DIH is especially active in the funding gaps we have at European level. Meaning, when you are in the seed stage, you have a lack of access to funding. The same we are in the Valley of Death, and this is exactly why the European Commission had launched this DIH strategy to overcome the Valley of Death. So by being very efficient, we will be able to attract more private investment and better support companies in their go-to-market and their growth. But we need to be efficient. And this is exactly what we want to achieve right now. So again, we have a question for you that we would like to get your point of view on the challenges you are expecting to address this fourth pillar. So you have again a link on the chat, and please answer, that will be very important to us. Do you consider that the main challenges are related to raising private investors' interest in supported company? Is it preparing the company to meet with the investors? Is it getting access to the right private investor for your companies? And is the challenge is a lack of private investor or a lack of internal resources that you might face yourself to achieve this objective? So again, just answer, submit, and meanwhile, I'd like to ask the question to Bianca. Based on your expertise, Bianca, you are DIH champion. You are quite active also in clusters activity, so you have a very strong background and experience. We are very interested to learn from you. What are the challenges you are expecting yourself in this mission to support to find investment?
Hello again. Of course, that this fourth pillar, it's a very important one, like Maurits also stated, also ensuring the sustainability of the Digital Innovation Hub. And here we have to see it from various perspectives. We have to see it, first of all, from the perspective of our clients, because the services we are delivering are addressed to the clients of the Digital Innovation Hubs, where we are having those type of companies you were mentioning before, the low-tech companies, the ones which need digital transformation, also the innovative, maybe startups. and also the public administration. Of course, that we as digital innovation hubs, we are working in mapping all the funding opportunities, the public ones, and we also speak a lot about multi-program financing type for our DIH, our services, and our clients. And also because we're also involved in drafting the national strategy for digital innovation hubs in Romania, we are addressing this issue and mapping all these opportunities, financing opportunities to support the digital transformation from the local, regional, national, and also the European level. But also the need is huge and the public investment is limited and there is a tough competition. Mm-hmm. Even a tougher competition is, of course, for the private investors, for the VCs, and the situation, I think, it's different in for each territory or region of Europe. And while in Romania, for example, the VC sector, the private investors are just emerging. We will have to see and to find a functional way of doing things and to get involved as a DIH, because like Yves said, the DIH cannot be the manager of the fund, but also the DIH has to have the capacity to prepare the potential businesses or startups or projects or ideas to be ready for private investment. And here I would like to speak about this capacity building the DIHs are needing in order to create this type of support services. And I would like to give you also an example, because our municipality in Cluj-Napoca just put recently together a private-public investment fund. It's called the Fund for Innovation and Experimentation, addressed to young people here in Cluj, aged 16 to 26 years old. And I must confess, and one of the challenges we are having is to find the right entity to manage this program. Because besides finding the greatest ideas and to find the best solution to invest in, it's a challenge to find the appropriate resources to proper manage and to have this network of mentors, to have the technological readiness assessment involved and being part of the program, and also all the administrative part. So I think that it's crucial for the digital innovation hubs to deal also with the private investment part in their digital transformation projects, and also in identifying innovation support for different innovation experiments. And here the DIHs, of course, are supporting throughout the life cycle, because they are the ones which are preparing these future ideas and projects to be ready for the investors, and they can be involved in different phases in organizing even maybe this matchmaking between the investors and potentially great ideas we are creating.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bianca. And actually, you're totally right, because the investment world is different from the research or the classical innovation world. They have their own way of working, they have their own challenges, and it seems very important that this is something that all the DIH are really aware of. So the best we know the investor, the best we will be able to match with their interests. And it's not always easy to catch that. And this is something that will have to be further developed maybe, and could be very interesting. Bianca, maybe we could have a look if Olivia can share with us the result of the feedback from the participant to see where they see the challenge, and maybe we can comment it with you, with Yves, and with Franck. So it seems that one of the biggest challenge is need to get access to the right private investors. So it seems to be also very related to what you just said, finding the right matchmaking, meaning the right investor that will match with what the company we are supporting are doing, and also raising the interest of the private investors in the company we are supporting. And that might be also related to what we said before, meaning technology push won't make the sufficient interest of the private investors. And they are especially looking to invest in companies that will have a strong impact that will generate a lot of revenue and will grow fast. So that's also something that we could also further address during this panel, but something that I learned from private investors when they say, you know, it's not because we are not investing in a company that the company is not good. It's just because they are not fitting with our own investment strategy or our own expectation. But this company could live for a very long time and could have very interesting business for the company, not for an investor. And this is also where we might have also to find a good balance between the type of investor we want to engage and maybe the new type of investor we should also encourage. So do you have a point of view on that, Bianca?
Yes, what I would also like to add is also the other way around, to find a way to inform these investors about the existing DIHs, which is their role, capacities, and capabilities, and to be also a continuous communication, if I might say, between the private investor and the DIHs. It's not sufficient for us to know this private investment. We begin to have specialized VCs on health, on different topics of interest for us, but it's also very important for the private investors to get to know these DIHs and which is their role, and to address also them in order to travel together in this journey of private investment in digital transformation projects.
And that's raised another point, which is smart specialization. Because indeed, in some regions in Europe, the smart specialization has been so strong that it has been a way to attract private investors. We can give example in robotics in different areas as well. Is it something that you will encourage, actually, Bianca?
We've been having this discussion for a long time now regarding the need of specialization of the digital innovation hubs. For some part of Europe, it's easier to do that. For the others, where we still lack, you know, the infrastructure, the capacity, and where there is a lot of outsourcing coming from the IT sector, is still a challenge, and which we have to address. And but I really think that it's really important that the activities and the services offered by the DIHs are, of course, linked with smart specialization strategies. That's why we are working at the regional level with the regional development agencies. They are responsible for drafting these smart specialization strategies. And that's why I was also curious about what JRC is doing, from where do they gather their data and input and feedback, because it's really important to have it a transparent and open way to do things, to have it bottom-up expressed, also top-down, but to be sure that we are reflecting through these platforms and public policies also the realities from the local and regional level. So I really would encourage that. We choose as specialization for Transylvania Digital Innovation Hubs, 3 main specializations derived from our smart specialization strategy. And we are also encouraging that for all the Romanian DIHs.
Thank you, Bianca. I know we are running already all the time, but we have also a very important point to address with Franck, because you mentioned specialization, the need that it might not address everything, and also the importance of the regions. And we have with us Franck, who has developed with Normandie Participations a new type of fund. So maybe, Franck, you could explain us in a few words what about Normandie Participations, and especially why you have created this fund, its specificity as well. And I have a lot of questions for you.
Thank you. But first of all, I want to thank Yves and Bianca, because they raised during their presentation, or they raised the main arguments that we had to use to drive that decision that we made with the region. Understanding of how to speak to investors, where to find investors, how to manage, even when we build some, we have some public funding tools, how do we manage them as investors? So all that were arguments that we had identified in our region. And my experience of starting a company and developing the company and successfully leaving an exit with the investors and becoming part of a large strategic corporation led me share with the recently elected people in the region of Normandy about how we shared, first of all, ideas on how to improve the tools and how to complement the toolbox that we had to support the local economic development. And one of the clear gaps that we identified was the access to capital for companies. Of course, the big, large technology projects or innovative projects could find some money. Our region of Normandy is, I would say, a mid-sized region, a little bit more than 3 million inhabitants, not far away from Paris. So for many companies, they had just to go to Paris and speak to investors, but it was not enough. And what we decided to do was to create a tool which is publicly funded. So 100% of the money that is managed by this fund is brought by the region. But I would say the original shape that we have built or made is how to manage that fund. And there has been several initiatives in Europe, in France also, to have some public funding of private investment by, I would say, giving some public money to VCs or investment funds and asking them to bring some return to the region. And somehow it works, but in general it doesn't work because these companies are managing this like they manage their own funds with a clear objective to return and to have a return on investment for the investors. For a region or for a public institution, it's a little different. Of course, there is no intention to lose the money, but the way to finance it, I would say, channel investment is different. So that's why we created an independent structure, a legal entity, private legal entity, but financed by public money. And we decided to set the boards to manage that company with local entrepreneurs. So the managing board is composed of local entrepreneurs, and I myself, I'm the president of the company, and I'm a local entrepreneur. And the investment board is also composed of local entrepreneurs and innovation agencies and those kinds of things. So that's how we made the link. And what we have as a goal for this fund is to finance companies, not only startups. Of course, we do seed investment, development, and so on, but also SMEs who are, like you said, companies who do exist since many years and do not have a very attractive profile for pure financial investors, but who need some money to develop themselves. So that's why we created also with the fund some derived tools to address these kinds of companies.
So you're addressing both, and what I kept in mind that you have a very interesting multiple in terms of level of public money you're putting in the fund and the return, and the fact that you're attracting also private investors. Can you explain that a bit more?
Yes, absolutely. So given the nature of our fund, which is 100% financed by, I would say, public funds, we have to be a co-investment fund to fulfill the rules. And this is not lived by us and by companies as a constraint, but it's very much an opportunity, because it means that when we find an interesting project, and very often we are consulted as a first potential investor because we are local, because we are seen as a potential, I would say, friendly company more than a pure financial company. And we have to find co-investors. So it means that we need to help the companies to find other investors or to bring other investors ourselves. And up to now, with the experience that we have, I would say that our multiple, if we look at how much we bring and how much the company gets as capital, is more or less a multiple of 4. So when Normandie Participation brings €1, the company gets €4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And this concept is very interesting also from my point of view as to what the European Commission wants to do, because you have developed a new kind of scheme of investors working at the regional level, matching the need of the SMEs, because in Normandy you don't have only high-tech companies. So it's a new and very interesting way to address this challenge. So it might be very inspiring for the European DIH and the DIH in Europe. So, and by the way, we have a question for the audience. If you want to know more about this Normandie participation, Olivia, you can put a link on the chat, and our participant can also let us know if they would like to receive more information about it. Okay, I hope you hear me. Yes, is it okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because we still have some technical challenges. So we should have a chat to know if you want to know more about it. And maybe Yves, you have a comment, a feedback, a conclusion for these sessions?
Yes, I have seen that there was a question in the chat, which is actually related to the amount of activities which an EDI should offer. I would say that probably the minimum activity would be this ability to map the financing instruments in a region or at the country level. That is being aware of what exists, and that would be more in the role of advising the SMEs. Whether or not an EDI should develop further activities in terms of financing, that is up to each of the EDIs to actually arrange. Sorry if I wasn't clear when I mentioned that. So that would be really part of the activities of the team, what they find it core for that specific region, and what they want to do in addition in order to help the SMEs to get access to finance. So that would be a bit the kind of overall statement I would like to have. I have seen that EDI should help SMEs to do financial engineering. I don't think that we should push the EDIs to go into that kind of direction. We don't want to see the Pandora EDIs in the press anytime. So.
But I think it's very interesting because we have a new opportunity, as you said. You know,
Exactly.
It's true we have constraint because it's a challenge, these funding gaps. But working at European level altogether, we might be able, and I'm sure we will be able, to develop the right solution that will match all the expectations. And there is a need, so we need to solve it.
Exactly.
Yeah, only one. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I would like also to add the importance of coordination of all these actors and actions. And for us, for example, having the coordination of the authority for the digitalization of Romania and also the regional actors, because like Frank presented, it's a private fund, but with public investment. It's really important to have all the actors at the European, national, regional, local level aligned and working in the same direction. Sorry for the interruption.
But you are so right, Bianca, because what we want to avoid is the fragmentation. So we want to avoid duplication of everything everywhere, but to have a pan-European action. So thank you for highlighting this point, Bianca. So thank you so much. Sorry, because we are already late, and sorry, Moritz, because I said we will keep the timing, but we were not able to. The topic was very interesting, actually, and we wanted to cover more. So don't hesitate to come back to us. You have in the chat the questions if you want to know more about it. And we are looking forward to discuss it further with you, any question you have. And if you want to be in contact with Franck or Bianca, you know all Bianca already, but and of course, Yves. Thank you very much. And thank you for your very strong participation to this panel session.